boy, do I have a story time for you guys. So, I've got a roommate. It's a female roommate. And basically, for about 5 months that she's been living here, I have had to deal with so much very strange behavior. And it would get to a point where it would be very annoying, and I just wouldn't understand why she would do these kinds of things, because they were things that I've never seen anyone do. And okay, so let's say, for example, I kind of thought that at first she was just being petty with this, like not wanting to take out the trash, for example. So basically I would also see her doing things like taking my grocery bags that I would put in one of the cabinets, and she would use it to make little separate bags of trash. And she would do that every time she would cook. And not only that, but keep in mind, I never once saw her ever get any kind of fucking takeout or anything like that. Like, it would always just be cooking. Like, not once in those 5 months did she ever get takeout. But anyway, she would make these little bags of trash, and she would leave them in the kitchen, hanging on one of the knobs of one of the cabinets. And sometimes she would leave them there all night or all day. And it started to really weird me out, because it's almost like she didn't want to use the trash that was out there for everybody to use. And I kind of thought, okay, maybe this is not too weird, because the other two guy roommates that we live with don't really use the trash either, at all, as far as I saw. But it would just be really strange that she would just make all these separate bags of trash, because then, of course, where would she keep them if she didn't leave them out in the kitchen? Is she going all the way to the dumpster every time she's doing this? Because that is quite a lot of effort. Also, keep in mind, she's fat, so she cooks at least 4 times a day, full meals. And for it to be that many times, if she's actually walking back and forth all the way to the dumpster, and keep in mind, we live in a condo complex, back and forth, that's kind of a lot. That's a lot of effort just to not want to, put your trash in the trash can, which is right there in the kitchen. So eventually I just asked her, yo, can we please stop using those grocery bags to be making separate trash? Because I bought those so that you guys can reuse them to bring in your groceries and put them back, not so you guys can make separate trashes when there's a trash can right there for everybody to use. So then she explains that she's doing that because she's putting in their food scraps, and she doesn't want those food scraps to smell. So she said that she's gonna buy smaller Ziploc bags for that purpose. She did not tell me the actual reason why she was doing that. So okay, apart from that, she takes up a lot of space in the kitchen. And remember how I said she's fat? Well, I guess that explains it. A lot of space. I mean, the kitchen was practically empty, because the other two guys don't really use the kitchen that much. They just have barely any food in there. So for her to come in and then take up all the space, it's pretty unnerving, because I either have to constantly rearrange stuff, or I straight up won't have room, or I would have to use the very top cabinet, which none of us can even reach because it's so high up there. I have to stand on a fucking chair. But not only that, but as much space as she takes up in there, I never once saw her buy any kind of beverage whatsoever. No beverage whatsoever. And I would always see her drinking sink water. And she would even get that in the middle of the night or whatever, just drink sink water. And that was something that I never even really realized up until now. Damn, I've never seen her put any drinks in there at all. Holy shit. That's really strange. So, okay, we have 2 weird behaviors so far. 2 main weird behaviors. The other thing would be for example, recently she had left for about a week and a half, and there was a pot that had tan beans in it that were soaking in some kind of oil or some shit like that. And she had completely forgotten about it. And I basically text the group chat that we have, and I'm saying like, hey, somebody left this pot out that has this in it. Can you guys get rid of it before it spoils? And she explains that it's hers. I'm like, OMG. And she explains it further. Then eventually one of the guys actually complains about a smell, and she says that it's from that pot. And then she says on the day that she's coming back, she's like, I am racing home right now, but there's plenty of traffic. I'm racing home right now so I can take care of it. And I'm like, girl, it is not that dramatic. Like, you're racing home to take care of this, and it's already been a week and a half. You're kind of too late on that, and it's not worth making whoever's driving you drive fucking like race home, whatever the hell's going on. Like, it's not that important. It's already been here for a week and a half. But anyway, that I found really weird, because it seems to me that she's overly polite with things that you normally wouldn't expect a person to be overly polite with and want to go out of their way to offer you. But when it comes to things that normally you do expect a person to be more considerate with, they're the complete opposite. Like, for example, the amount of space that she's taking up in the fridge. And not only in the fridge, but in the whole kitchen, pretty much. So I actually shouldn't have been complaining back then, because it did get worse after I found out the reason behind all these strange behaviors. We're going to get to that in a second. But essentially, let's see, another weird behavior. I know that her room is normal sized, and when she moved in here, she had a semi truck to move her things in, which I thought was very strange too, because the entire place itself is extremely small. Like, I wouldn't even have room to have any kind of like stripper pole or anything like that in there, yet she's using a semi truck. I'm like, damn, like I didn't stay outside to check out what it was or anything like that, but holy shit. And so that was just one thing. Another thing would have been, so I actually also noticed that not only was she keeping a shitload of food in the kitchen and in the fridge, but she was also keeping a shitload of it in her fucking room. Because there was one time where I was cooking several different like steaks that I was gonna eat for like the next 3 or 4 days. I was basically meal prepping. So I was in the kitchen for a while, and she comes out of her room and she brings this packet of noodles out, and she leaves it right there on the counter as if she doesn't want to use the kitchen while I'm in there, which, you know, I guess I understand that, even though I don't, because even like my family didn't want anybody cooking while they were cooking. I never understand why people are like that, you know, because you can share a kitchen, like you can cook on the same stovetop if you want. I don't get why people are like that. But anyway, I remember getting like a glance into her room before, and it looked like she had a massive pile of stuff on her bed, lying up against the fucking wall. And it kind of looked like it was hoarding. But then I remember she had texted the WhatsApp group, and she basically said that she was gonna hire a cleaning crew to go in there and clean up the room, like professionally deep clean it. So after that, I believe I did get a glance in there and it looked better. However, I'm not sure if that's still the case, because it was only a glance. But I noticed that she would stay up extremely late, and I kind of like have a sneaking suspicion that she might be a phone psychic, because I did overhear her on the phone like talking about psychic stuff, and like Oprah having a dark side that she doesn't show to the public, and like a few other celebrities and stuff, and her talking about spells and things like that. And not only that, but she's on the phone very often and for long bouts of time. And I would say usually it is with her family, because she's like talking about family stuff, but some other times she'll be talking about like spiritual stuff. So not only that, but there was one night where I woke up at 4 in the fucking morning to her singing, and I'm like fucking tired as fuck, like didn't get no fucking sleep. I opened my phone to that group chat, and I type in there, I'm like, yo, please, it's 4 a.m. I say her name. I'm like, please, it's 4 a.m. And then I just like, I don't even wait for a fucking response. I just try to go back to sleep as fast as I can, because I do not want my body to fully wake up at this point. I'm trying to go the fuck back to sleep. So when I wake up, I read that she's saying that she was singing because she had a death in the family. Which, again, this is behavior I've never seen before. And honestly, like, I wasn't even thinking of the obvious, which is, you know, like, if you're gonna do that, you can go do that outside and not, you know, when you're right next to rooms with other people. So I remember she also ended up like apologizing to me in person as well. I guess she felt really bad about it or whatever. And I was not going to ask her questions about that, because like I don't want to be close with her. I don't want her to know anything about me. If it actually is true that she's a phone psychic or any kind of psychic, I don't want her to know anything about me or do any kind of reading on me, nothing whatsoever. So another thing, and this is more of a funny thing. This is like I remember our landlord came in while she was cooking, and he said he like essentially said that her food smells really good. And she starts offering him this food, like kind of insisting. And he's like, no, I don't want to put you out. And she keeps on insisting. And so she tells him, I always make extra. I always make extra. And then I'm just like listening to this conversation. I'm thinking, well, why am I not surprised? Of course you always make extra. That's why the fucking kitchen is always filled up. So there's that. And then essentially, like, I notice like a couple things here and there, but they aren't at the forefront of my mind. I just like notice them, and then they're like gone or whatever. So one of those things is that she doesn't use a pool. Now, I know that many older adults don't like to swim. I don't particularly know why, but I know that that's common among older adults. I didn't know that this was all tying into something way bigger, into a much bigger plot twist than it actually is, or than what it occurred to me at the time. I had also noticed like the only reason why I knew she was an older adult was because I had overheard her on the phone telling someone that she was born in 1979. So she really has like a baby face. So she looks like she's around my age in the face, but she's also very fat. And like normally you don't see people who are my age who are that fat, because for someone to get that big at my age, you'd have to be eating a lot. So it makes sense that she would be an older adult with a bit of a slower metabolism to be gaining that amount of weight. I remember hearing her say that medication made her gain weight, but I don't believe that, because the amount that she was eating did not really equate that to even be true. Like maybe that medication was making her more hungry, but it definitely doesn't look like it was the thing that was making her gain weight. I really refuse to believe that. That seems like some bullshit. So essentially, I was recently on the phone with my friend Jay from Michigan, and I was telling her about like the newer weird behaviors that I had seen, including like about the trash, like about how like a much newer thing with that was that I basically took out the bag of trash, and then all of a sudden I see messages on the WhatsApp saying like basically her profusely thanking me. And it's almost like she mentions in the same message that she's going to use my bags that I put outside for the recycling bottles and cans and stuff. She says in the same message that she is going to use that more often. Almost like like she's saying that I did such a nice thing for her that was not necessary, that she's gonna start, using what I put out there for everybody more often. It's a little bit weird. Like, I've never had anybody thank me profusely for doing anything like that before. That was a little bit strange, but I decided to, like, not really think about that and just move on. So I also noticed that when I would take the trash out or like if the trash was taken out and if I would line it, she straight up would not use that trash bag whatsoever. And I would be thinking that that's a little bit weird because, like, first of all, where is she keeping the actual trash? Is she, like, because I remember seeing her during that time take a couple of grocery bags to her room that looked round, but I didn't know what was in them. I, like, straight up could not tell. So I don't know, like, it was so freaking weird. And then not only that, but there was one time where she had like a shitload of bags that were by the door, and all these bags looked like they had food and groceries in them. And one of them was like a very big open kind of like tote bag, very, very massive, and it had all these things in it that were very wrapped up. It almost looked like it was food that was for like a catering event or something like that. I don't know what the hell it was, because it was wrapped up like very good. And she left it there for a few days, and then our other roommate says that something smells bad by the entryway, and that he said it smells crazy, like spoiled food. And I just started laughing at that, and I basically like started listing off different things that it could be. Like, maybe it's the garbage disposal, maybe it's the trash, or maybe it's those bags that are by the door. And then I had asked, are those bags by the door all full of food? Because that is, and I put in all caps, that is a lot of food. And I was like trying to indirectly take a jab at her for like being fat by saying like, damn, you buy a lot of food that you do not need to be buying. Like, holy shit. But she moves them, and she claims that they were all full of toiletries. Call bullshit on that. Because I do also remember seeing fucking, like, tomatoes in there. I remember seeing some fucking tomatoes, okay? So that was some goddamn bullshit. But anyway, so I was telling my friend Jay about these behaviors, and she asked me, like, well, is she Indian? And I'm like, yeah. And then she's like, so that's why she's been doing all this weird shit this entire time. It's because, and then she starts explaining every little weird behavior linking back to Indian culture, which I never knew any of this shit before. So, like, for example, in Indian culture, they separate trash into 3 bags. And not only do they separate it into 3 bags, but they also separate it by persons in the family. So every person in the family has to have their own trash, which I think is, bro, like, what? My mind is immediately starting to blow at this point, because I'm like, what the fuck? So first of all, that's extremely wasteful. Second of all, what the hell do they do when they have guests over? Third of all, this makes entirely fucking sense, because that explains all of her weird behavior regarding trash up until this point. Because it wasn't only that, it was also the fact that I found some used floss dangling over the fucking rim of the toilet. And when I had put it in that group chat, she says like, oh, well, I actually forgot to like flush it. And I'm like, there's a trash can for that. She replies, sure, which, doesn't sound enthusiastic. So that means that this whole time she's been flushing floss and God knows what the fuck else down the toilet, just to avoid using the little trash can that we have in the bathroom for everybody to use. What the fuck? First of all, that's wasting a lot of water. I mean, I understand that we're not paying for the water use, but it's like, why would you be wasteful like that? Just to avoid putting your floss in the trash? What the fuck? And then that's not even the worst fucking part. The worst fucking part about it is that there was one day that I had to leave early, and I texted in the group chat when I was already gone, can y'all please work on decrowding that fridge, because I barely have room in there, and that's a lot of food for only 3 people. So a couple hours later, she texts back saying that she cleared out some of her old food, and that she like put her soup into like a smaller pot or whatever, but there's some other old food in there that's not hers. And then I reply, if it's already rotten or moldy, you don't need permission to throw it away. And she doesn't answer. So when I get home that night, I look in the fridge again, and I start looking at like whatever is left there, and I see that there's actually like at least two pieces of food that have mold on them, including several cartons of calcified eggs. So originally I didn't know whose food that was. So that was why I had asked everybody, can you please decrowd that fridge, so like that way they can throw it away. So that means that this bitch looked at the fucking fridge, saw this rotten ass food, and thought, well, this is not mine, so I don't have to throw it away. But when you have moldy food in a fucking fridge, it can contaminate the other foods and spread mold to them. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you not fucking throw away moldy food? All because you don't want to mix trash from other people with your trash. It's all going to end up in the same fucking place. It's going to end up in a goddamn landfill, and it may or may not get burned up. What the fuck? Why would you do that, bro? That's crazy, because that means that there's so much dedication there that there's absolutely no limit to fucking not wanting to mix other people's trash with hers. It doesn't make any fucking sense. That's like so fucking weird. I've never seen anything like that before in my life. That's insane. So holy fuck, because I didn't even know this back then. I just like I just fucking didn't think about it back then. I just, I thought it was weird, but I didn't have any like conclusion or any kind of reason that it could possibly be happening. So fuck, it's like that actually was not quite the worst part of this story. I once overheard her on the phone talking about how she was going to mail something to South Africa, and she was describing the dimensions to the guy, and the guy replies, that'll be $900. She says, okay, my dad's going to send me money so I can ship it. A couple months later, I hear her on the phone having a very similar conversation. I didn't hear all the details because she was in her room, so it was a little bit muffled, but it was a very similar conversation. I don't know if it was the same thing or not, but I relay this to Jay, and she explains, well, I can't really say for certain because we don't know if it's the same thing or not. But if it is the same thing, that means that she's doing this thing that also relates to Indian culture, which is she is sending one object to one place and having it sent back to her, and then sending it again to the actual destination, not at this third party, but to the actual destination once and for all. Because when you have something sent back and forth once, that it apparently cleanses it of bad energy and bad spirits. What the actual fuck? What? So you're telling me that as a lower middle class person, because keep in mind our rent is very cheap here, as a lower middle class person who is also on food stamps, because I also overheard her saying that something about her EBT card, that you're going to spend $900 first off to send this thing one place, and then spend another $900, if not more, if not maybe some less, to send it again because you believe it's going to cleanse it of bad energy and bad spirits. What the fuck? That's creating so much inconvenience as far as time. It's not going to get there in the desired time. You're spending all this fucking hard-earned money. Like, what the fuck? Dude, I never see her leave to actually go to work. I only ever see her leave for doctor's appointments, getting groceries, or going with her family. Either one of those three, I never see her leave for any other reason. I mean, it honestly even makes me think, like, when you live in a place that has extremely cheap rent, the thing that it's going to attract are strange people, and people who may or may not be losers, and people who are probably doing unethical things to get money. So I was also thinking, like, it even usually is ran by people who will just let anybody in. So I was thinking like, damn, because I had to go through so many hoops to like, you know, show this landlord my proof of employment and how much money I make, and I even had to show him how much money I had in my bank account. But I'm just wondering how the process was for her, because would it be like, you know, I'm a scam artist and this is how much money I make, this is how much money I got right now, you know, all this other crap. This is blowing my fucking mind. This is insane, dude. This is fucking insane. So Jay also explains to me a few other bits here and there about Indian culture. She explains to me that Indians typically don't go swimming because there aren't as many pools in India as there are here. And if you have a house, you have to have like some kind of permit or license to have a pool at your house. And they don't have like as many water parks. And not only that, but I had like also remembered that Indians are like the least amount of people that I have seen at water parks and swimming in the actual ocean. And that was something that I had never really noticed before. Like, damn, I never even paid attention to that. What the fuck? That's like really strange. So she also explains that there are other customaries, like a woman is not supposed to have tan lines. And normally like Indians will cover up a little bit similar to how Muslims do, but not like to the extreme that Muslims do. So that's why you never really see her in like revealing clothes. You know what I mean? So that's one thing. And another thing was that I had noticed that anytime that I would sit at like the little table that was in the hallway, and I would like eat or read or be on my phone or something like that, I had noticed that she would basically open her door, she would see me, and then she would immediately slam it. And it wasn't like a rude slam. It was almost like she didn't expect to see me, and either I did something to make her uncomfortable, or she's hiding something from me. And I'm like, damn, which one is it? Because that's like really weird. And I believe that wasn't the only time that she did it. So I basically conjured up the courage to straight up ask her why she did that. And she explained that it's because she was raised in a very strict family who told her don't go out into the common living areas if something is going on or if people are there. So don't interrupt, I guess. And I was like, oh, okay. And I just, like wanted to leave the conversation there. I didn't want to get deeper into it because I'm still kind of weirded out, even though I get the answer. And I guess it's a good answer because the other answers that I was thinking of definitely wouldn't have been good answers. But yeah, so like there's that thing. A lot of times, like I would understand that she's not a housewife, but I would still like wish that she would do a few more things around the house, such as taking out the trash, because everybody else in the house, like, we're gone all day so that we can work, not only that, but Jay also explained the whole thing about like her being super eager about coming back home from a 2-hour drive, saying that she's racing back home so she can take care of it, that it relates back to the family dynamic in India, which is that if your husband tells you to do something, you have to go to it immediately, like no delays, no nothing. And like, even though she's not married, it still relates back to that dynamic because now she has 2 people in the house complaining about that pot. So that's one thing. And, damn, all this is like coming together, like piecing together and making so much sense. So that also means that she was never being upfront with me about the whole trash thing. So she was never upfront, like never told me that this was a cultural thing. She never told me none of that shit. And you see, I'm not one who immediately like judges a person based off of their skin color. So that's why like it never came to me that it might be a cultural thing, all these weird behaviors. And even more so, I didn't even think of anything cultural in the first place because she has a British accent. So I didn't even think she was directly from India, because, like me, for example, and all the other Americans that I see who are like different races and all that stuff, like I just kind of assume that, you know, they're probably going to be like relatively normal apart from like a few crazies here and there, because, you know, they were obviously raised in the United States, unless they are that one oddball out who learned English with an American accent, because we all know that all these fucking school systems in other countries, they always want to teach British English as if they're the dominant ones. Some fucking bullshit. But not only that, but the real conclusion here, like the real biggest conclusion overall in a worldly sense, is that this whole situation, this whole big ass plot twist, is so fucking indicative of the fact that social media is so far fucking removed from reality. And I say that because on social media, you will see so many people, so many accounts, either joking about or that are fully dedicated to making posts about different cultural items and cultural acts and traditional things, and just, you know, like ways that people go about their lives in, like, for example, Filipino homes, Chinese homes, Indian homes, African homes, whatever, black homes, white homes, whatever it is. And they will be telling you things that are more innocent. They will never be telling, like, even the pages who are fully dedicated to talking about like cultural practices and things about like cultural households and all that stuff, even those pages, they do not fucking get into the nitty gritty details. They do not paint the full picture. They don't tell you the full story of how the actual reality is. They don't talk about the things that are sexist. They don't talk about the things that might be fucking controversial among other cultures or even among themselves. They tell you what the fuck you want to hear and what you want to read. And they will tell you what they think looks good to the public because it's social fucking media. They're never gonna be honest with that shit, and it boggles my fucking mind, because it's like, okay, so like, for example, there was one of those pages I was like dedicated to telling you like, oh, like these are Filipino things. So one of their posts was, these are common things, you know, you can find in a Filipino home, and like one of those was chanclas. And then it starts to list off all these other little household items, you know, like, I don't even know what they were called, but all these different household items that are common in Filipino homes. But of course, they never fucking tell you the actual like brutal reality, because I've never heard of any of this shit before in my life. I don't know why, but I essentially thought that their culture would not be too different from ours. And I don't know why I was thinking that, because like, I just, like, this is just something you never think about. Like, you meet a new person who's coming into your home and you want to start off with a clean slate. You're not thinking about all these like preconceptions or anything like that. You just, you know, you want to go about your day and not really be thinking about it, you know, like, I have my life, you have your life, you know. I'm not going to be thinking about, is this person going to be weird? Like, I'm also very optimistic, so I don't like immediately see someone coming into my home and think that like they're going to be exhibiting all this weird behavior, like, what if this, what if that. I never go into situations like that, you know. I'm very positive. So all this shit like rubbed me the wrong way. Like, now that I understand it, it makes more sense, but it's still not very tolerable for me, especially when it comes to the whole trash thing, because that just really pisses me off. Because now that I'm no longer confused, now I'm just pissed the fuck off. And wow, I really can't believe it. I can't believe that, you know, like, fuck, I've had to deal with so much weird behavior for 5 months, and now I'm finally understanding why. And that means she wasn't upfront with it about me. Social media is very far from reality. It's fucking crazy, dude.